Hello friends, welcome to my biology class. Today we will be discussing chapter 2 Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants of class 12. Today's topic is microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis. What we will be discuss today? Number 1, we will discuss the structure of the flower, but this description will be very brief. We will discuss the structure of stamen, its morphology and anatomy. We will study the development of pollen grains, formation of male gametes, structure of pistil, structure of a matured ovule, development of megaspore, and development of ovule. We'll start with microsporogenesis and microgametogenesis. Now you see, this is a flower. A typical flower has four holes: the calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. In reproduction, or especially you can say it as in sexual reproduction, it is the androecium and gynoecium which takes part. They are directly involved in the reproductive process. So they are called as essential holes. Androecium and gynoecium are called as essential holes, whereas calyx and corolla are called as accessory holes. Now, since we'll be doing with microsporogenesis first, let us see the structure of the stamen, which is the male part. So this is the structure of a stamen. If we enlarge this, such structure can be seen. So what is this? This stamen is the male reproductive organ of the flower. It consists of a filament. This green color structure is the filament, and this one is the anther. These anther, they bear pollen sacs, or these are the microsporangium, in which pollen grains are formed. These pollen grains later on develops into the male gametes. So in this discussion, we will divide this into two different topics. One will be microsporogenesis, which is development of microspores, and next will be microgametogenesis, that is from the microspore how the male gametes are developed. Let us start with microsporogenesis. Here you see this diagram. Now, if you see the matured anther, we find that each mature anther is bilobed. There are two lobes, and in each lobe there are two pollen sacs. That means two pollen sacs in two lobes means there are four pollen sacs. So a matured anther is bilobed and is tetrasporangiate. Now if you consider the development, this is a very young anther. You see this very young anther, which is an oblong shaped structure with full of homogeneous cells. Now in the next step, what happens? At four corners of these homogeneous cells, one of the hypodermal cells in the four corners, they are differentiated. The cell becomes larger in size with dense cytoplasm, and this cell is called as archisporial cell. Now this archisporial cell, they undergo periclinal division and gives rise to one outer cell and one inner cell. The outer cell is called as the primary parietal cell, and the inner cell is called as the primary sporogenous cell. Next, what happens? The primary parietal layer of the cell divides to form a layer and forms the layers of the pollen sac, whereas the inner sporogenous cells, they take part in the microsporogenesis, or they take part in the formation of pollen. What happens? You can see the diagram here also. Here you can see the structure, tetrasporangial structure. Now, this pollen wall, this pollen sac consists of endodermis. You can see here the endodermis, single layer endothecium, 2 to 3 middle layers, and finally the tapetum. The primary sporogenous cell divides to give rise to several sporogenous tissues, and these are all diploid. The sporogenous cell divides to form microspore mother cells. These microspore mother cell undergoes meiosis and forms 4 microspores, and these microspores are haploid because the microspore mother cell undergoes meiotic division. These microspores are arranged in tetrad. 4 microspores per microspore mother cell. They are either arranged tetrahedrally or in an isobilateral manner. Now you see the tapetum. The tapetum is the innermost layer. Their main function is to give nourishment to the developing microspores. So microspores are developed where it is found inside the microsporangium. So microspore is a haploid body and is the first cell of the gametophytic generation. The plant itself is diploid, is a sporophytic generation, and with microsporogenesis, microspores are formed and microspore forms the first cell of the gametophytic generation. Now what happens? The pollen grains of the microspores are inside the pollen sacs. Microspore starts germinating in situ, that means while it is already inside the pollen sac. Each microspore nucleus divides mitotically and forms 2 nuclei. Now, the 2 nuclei, one is a larger cell called the vegetative cell and a smaller cell called as generative cell. In most of the angiosperms, what happens? Pollen grains are shed in this 2-celled stage. Means when the pollen grains are shed, at that time inside the pollen grains there are already 2 cells. One is the vegetative cell and another is the generative cell. Apart from this, there are many species where it may be shed in the 3-celled stage also. Now when the pollens are shed, that means now the next step will be pollination. That means when pollination occurs, then the pollen grains are already in the 2-cell stage or in the 3-cell stage. This is what happens. Here you see the structure developing, and ultimately one is the larger vegetative cell and one is the smaller generative cell. Now as soon as the pollen grain is shed, it falls onto the surface of the stigma. Stigma is the receptive part of the pistil. Now what happens? Flower, there are different flowers, so there are different types of pollen grains. Now there is a pollen pistil interaction. If pollen grain from a plant species A falling on a plant species B, stigma of plant species B will not allow fertilization. Why? Because the pollen pistil interaction and mutual recognition only allows pollen tube of the same species to germinate. So each pollen tube now germinates through the germ pore. The vegetative nucleus takes the distal end and 2 generative nucleus follows. That means this generative nucleus now divides to form 2 male nuclei. So generative cell or generative nucleus form 2 male nuclei, and the vegetative cell leads the 2 male nuclei inside the pollen tube. The vegetative nucleus, as it reaches the micropyle region, it degenerates and allows the two male nuclei enter into the ovule. Next event is fertilization, which we will not discuss here. So this is how the two male nuclei are formed. Our next discussion will be megasporogenesis and megagametogenesis. As we have just discussed, microsporogenesis, that is formation of microspores. Here we will discuss how the megaspores are first developed. In the previous discussion, after microspore development, we studied microgametogenesis, that is how the male gametes are produced. Here also we will discuss how female gametes are produced following megasporogenesis. The gynoecium is a female reproductive part. Any flower may have single pistil, which is called as monocarpellary, or it can have many pistils known as polycarpellary. These pistils can be free, called as apocarpus, or may be united or syncarpus. A typical pistil has three distinct parts. There is a stigma, style, and ovary. Stigma is the receptive part, and ovary is the swollen base inside which the ovules develop. So inside the ovary is the ovarian locule. There can be one to many chambers. These are called as locules. Placenta occupies the locular space. Inside the locule there is placenta. And megasporangium, which is otherwise known as ovules, develops from the placenta. The number of ovules may vary. Some species may have one, some species may have many ovules. We regularly don't go to see ovules in the ovary, but we come across different type of fruit. When we cut a fruit and we see the number of ovules, we can easily correlate with the number of seed and the number of ovules. So inside the fruit, the seeds are formed, which is actually developed ovules inside the fruit. The fruit is developed from the ovary. So ovary forms the fruit and the ovules form the seed. This is the correlation. This is the structure of a mature ovule. Now, if you say the structure of a mature ovule, what do we find? We find that the ovule is attached to the placenta by a stalk, and this stalk, this is the extended part, this stalk we will call as funicle. The funicle attaches to the ovule at a point. This point will be called as hilum. This is very much visible when the seed is detached and leaves a scar here. One or two protective layers, you can see the protective layers, these are called as the integuments. Inner, outer integuments, inner integuments, they are protecting the whole ovule. It has two ends. One is the micropylar end, and opposite to the micropylar end is the chalaja end. Embryo sac or the female gametophyte, this is located in the nucellus. Now let us see the steps of development. Megasporogenesis. Megasporogenesis means this is the process of formation of megaspore from megaspore mother cell, and it occurs in the nucellus. Just like we have discussed microsporogenesis, we found that a very young anther, which was oblong in shape, and at four corners of this oblong structure, single archisporial cell at four corners, they developed into single archisporial cells developed at the four corners from the hypodermal cells. Here, instead of four, only one only one archisporial cell develops. From the nucellus, instead of four like in the previous case, here only one cell of the nucellus becomes differentiated and is known as archisporium or archisporial cell. These archisporial cells here do not divide as in the case of microsporogenesis, where they are supposed to produce a large number of pollen grains. Here, to restrict the number, the archisporial cell here directly can function as megaspore mother cells. You can see here what happens. This is the nucellus in which a single megaspore mother cell is developing. This megaspore mother cell undergoes division, meiotic division, and two successive division. First division forms two cells, a dyad, and the second division forms four cells. This is called as a megaspore tetrad, and they are linearly arranged. So at the end of this division, meiotic division, four megaspores are formed. So a linear tetrad of four megaspores are arranged. In monosporic type, only one megaspore lying towards the chalaja remains functional, but the other three degenerates. If you go back to the diagram here, we can find this is the micropylar end, this is the chalaja end, so the three degenerates and one remains functional. This is called as monosporic type of division or monosporic type of megaspore development. So only one megaspore which is lying towards the chalaja remains functional and the other three degenerates. Now what happens to this megaspore? With the formation of megaspore, the megasporogenesis ends. The next step is megagametogenesis. That is, now the female gamete is to be produced. Now megaspore, which is the product of meiosis, is a haploid cell and is considered as the first cell of the female gametophyte. This functional megaspore undergoes three successive mitotic division. Now there will be no more meiotic division. First division forms two cells. Second division forms four cells. Third division forms 8 cells. These 8 cells are rearranged. 4 forms one group towards the micropylar end. Another 4 forms a group towards the chalaja end. So this is called as a quartet. So one will be micropylar quartet, another will be chalajan quartet. Now this is the structure of a mature ovule. What happens? Out of these 4, one cell nucleus from each quartet migrates to the center. As you see here, one has migrated to the center and now 3 remains known as antipodal in the chalaja end and 3 remains here in the micropylar end, which is called as the egg apparatus. Now this diagram is reversed here. Micropylar end, now this is the micropylar end, this is the chalaja end, now this is the chalaja end. It can be reversed or it has to be upside down. Now if you see this structure, this is the mature ovule. What we find? We have central 2 polar nuclei. At the micropylar end is the egg apparatus. Egg apparatus is composed of 2 synergids and 1 egg. Opposite to the micropylar end is the chalaja end. In the chalaja end, there are 3 antipodals. Now, one thing you must remember, that since all these nuclei, they are formed from one cell, that is the megaspore, which was haploid cell. So all these nuclei are haploid here. Now this matured ovule has 3, 3, 6 and 1, 7. 7 cells. But there are 3, 3, 6 and 2, 8 nuclei. So a mature embryo is called as 8 nucleate and 7 cell structure. With this, we come to an end of this discussion on developing or how the male and the female gametophytes are developed. Now some questions for you. I hope you have understood. Now if you answer these questions at home, be sure that you have understood all the areas to be covered in this topic. You can write down the questions. Write the steps in development of male gametes we have just discussed. What is monosporic development? Describe the structure of a mature ovule and label the following diagram. This is just 4 questions, but if you want to learn more, we have provision for that also. But right now, at least you do this work. Thank you very much for being with me to learn the topic on sexual reproduction in flowering plants. We will continue our discussion. For that, you have to go to the next topic, that is pollination and fertilization. This is our next topic which is being discussed in the next video. Thank you for being with me.